Well, hello there, it's Matt here, and I'm just running a test to make sure this can pick up sound and is working. So here we go.
AFOL ASMR.
Well, hello there, it's Matt here, aka AFOL ASMR, AFOL 1984. I have many usernames. And yeah, so my channel, AFOL ASMR, reached 100 subscribers, and I am incredibly excited about that. I'm super happy about how it's going. As you know, if you've seen my channel, which no doubt you have, I have quite a few projects going on. Well, I say quite a few. Two major projects going on. A sci-fi series and a fantasy series. I'll probably talk about them a little bit later. But for now, I'm just going to sit here, chat, answer some questions. I've had quite a few. I've got a screen next to me so I can actually see the questions. I should really be wearing my glasses for this, so bear with. If, pardon me, I'm just going through my bag. Right. Oh dear. They are dirty, ladies and gentlemen. Dirty glasses. Can't be working with dirty glasses, can we? Oh, I beg your pardon. And by the way, I'm going to leave these bits in because, you know, this is me. This is the real me. I make no pretenses. I make nothing. What you see is what you get. WYSIWYG. WYSIWYG. That's a good word, isn't it? WYSIWYG. WYSIWYG, 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 WYSIWYG. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I make myself laugh quite a lot. I wouldn't say I'm a funny person, but I just amuse myself, you know. Sometimes you've got to in life. If you can't laugh, what can you do? You know. So, anyway. uh, sorry. Just makes me laugh. Yeah, I'm not cutting this. I'm so not cutting this. Right. Okay. So, I have a load of questions from Twitter. I've listed them all so that I can read them out and answer them. There might be a few images, stills that I've found online, um, but yeah. So, and there's a lot of ASM artists who've asked me questions here, and to all of you out there who are watching who are ASM artists, I've started doing collaboration work on a number of my projects, or on my 2 projects, the Destructor Saga, which is my sci-fi project, and there are more characters to come for that, as there will be for we're working on episode 8 of that, myself and a number of ASM artists, and episodes 4 and 5 of The Lord of War and Heartache are now in the planning stages. I'm scripting all my lines, and at the request of other cast members, their lines, although I do encourage ad-libbing, and I always give. Now, it's easy for me to say it as a tweet or a message, but I do allow 100% character creation to all involved. As far as I'm concerned, anything goes. Whatever they want to do with the character, I'm happy with. Just to have their involvement in my projects is a dream come true, you know. Anything goes as far as I'm concerned. If you know, I'm more than happy to write a script for them. I'm happy for them to do, or if you ever collaborate with me, I'm absolutely happy for you to do video or audio. I do audio because, as you can see, I have no green screen. I use my phone to film videos. I don't have a microphone, so at the moment anyway, I'm looking at a possibility of getting a Blue Yeti so I can actually record better audio. So, you know, I tend to do all my segments as audio, but I have all the software I need, so I can edit video, I can mix audio with the video, etc. So, you know, I am fully flexible on how you wish to work with me. But besides that, let's crack on, and I think it's time to get to know me a little bit better and answer some of your burning questions. So I'll start with a little bit about myself. So most of you will know me as Matt. Well, most of you, if you've found my channel, will probably know me as Afol ASMR. That's how it's pronounced. It's spelt AFOL-SMR, but it's pronounced Afol ASMR. And yeah, so that's my channel, my main channel. Afol 1984 is my vlog channel, which doesn't have as many viewers, subscribers, but it also doesn't get updated as much. There's a good number of videos on there, but I haven't really done anything with that channel. It's dormant. It's dormant. I kind of have become more involved in this channel. Anyway, I also run a third channel, which is Ashdown Park. I'm involved with the Tunbridge Model Railway Club, and I'm in the process of building, or up until lockdown and everything, was in the process of building a model railway layout inspired by the Bluebell Railway in Sussex. Excuse me, have a quick swig of tea. There is something written on this mug, but because I'm left-handed, obviously you can't see it. The thumbnail obviously shows it better because obviously I'm holding it in my right hand, which I'm not naturally. That's by the by though. These little segues. Where was I? Yeah, so building the layout with my best mates Stu and Gav and Ruben. We've been working on it for quite a while. So, you know, that's relating to the third channel I run, Ashdown Park. That involves a model making, visiting heritage railways, banter with my mates, shall we say. And as I said in one of my videos, banter, gotta have a bit of banter. Gotta have a bit of banter. Oh. No. I'll, that reminded me of something, but, there's a question that, that's coming up that I will respond to accordingly, shall we say. So, anyway, that's enough about my channels. So yeah, my name's Matt, 36 years old. I am autistic, Asperger's syndrome. I was diagnosed at the age of 8. Found it very difficult in life at school. Didn't really make any friends, but look at me now. I'm more proactive in social media and in friendship circles than ever before. So, you know, those people who didn't really want to know me, your loss, I'm afraid. Your loss. At the end of the day, it made me a stronger and more resilient and respectful, or respectable, I guess, person, you know, developed me, made me who I am today. A gentleman and a chap. In fact, let us confirm that by placing on a gentleman's proper attire. I should be looking at the camera. Anyway, gentleman's proper attire for this video. I am a steampunk. This is actually part of my steampunk Time Lord costume that I've been working on for Comic-Con. I'm a cosplayer, and yeah, so cosplayer, model maker, AFOL. Now, that's where it gets interesting, because many of you will not know what AFOL, A-F-O-L, stands for. It stands for Adult Fan of Lego, and I have tons of the stuff. You might see some behind me. I've got stuff on shelves that way. I've got minifigures. I mean, I've got custom-made Power Ranger minifigures. They're actually Power Rangers. I've got behind me all the Overwatch minifigures. I even have a minifigure of myself. Let me pause the video for a sec and find the minifigure. So I'm just going to pause. So here's me. Let me just zoom in. Let's hope he can focus. I don't think little chappy me wants to focus. Let me try. No, doesn't want to focus. But I will post up a photo of him anyway. He has a camera, because I'm interested in photography as a amateur photographer. That's one of my many hobbies. Actually, I'm going to take this off. I'm going to take this hat off because it's quite heavy, really, surprisingly. But yeah, adult fan of Lego. 36 years old, Asperger's, as you know. Video games. I love video games. Fallout, The Sims 4, anything Star Wars, Overwatch. Favourite characters are Bastion. Wow, I never realised. I've just realised how I pronounce Bastion. Wow. Tracer, Farah, Widowmaker, Soldier 76. Soldier 76. Reinhardt. I've forgotten quite a few of the characters, so I shan't carry on. You're probably bored by now, and I can quite understand. I'm not the most exciting of people. So yeah, also a big Doctor Who fan. I am a Whovian. I've been collecting the not minifigures, I beg your pardon, the collectible figurines since day one. And obviously I actually became a fan of Doctor Who as a child when I got my very first VHS, not DVD, VH. Now I've got to try and remember how to do this because obviously I've got to do it backwards. So I think that's S. I think that's S. Anyway, you know what I mean. VHS. Anyway, so yeah, John Pertwee was the first Doctor I saw and became a big fan of his era, even though he finished playing the role of the Doctor on TV 10 years before I was born. Yeah, obviously, Athol 1984, year of my birth, 1984. Favourite novel, 1984. No, I will talk about that later because I believe that's a question coming up. So we'll talk about that a bit later. What else? I'll tell you what. Let's just skip straight to the questions. This is the introduction. We'll go from there, and I think we'll yeah. So the first question comes in from Yaloma ASMR, who is a friend I made through Twitter. She is collaborating with me on episode 5 of The Lord of War and Heartache. There is a link to everyone who's asked me a question who has a channel. Their channel is linked in the description below. So please, 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 please go to their channels, subscribe, watch their videos, like them. I want to see you hit that like button until it hurts. I want to see that like button explode. And the subscription button explode. I want to see the numbers go through the roof for each of them. That is genuine. They are amazing. Everyone who's listed in the description below are amazing ASMR. Excuse me. Swig of the old tea. Swig of the old joy juice. Anyway, so where was I? Oh yes. Question from Yaloma. Hello. How does it feel to live in one of the most beautiful places in the world, the Garden of England, Kent. It's nice. I'll be honest, it is nice. I guess because I've lived here all my life and grown up in Kent, it has really been something I've never really thought much about. I have my favourite areas of Kent. I love Dover. My dad's side of the family, the origins for that side of the family come from Dover. Dover Castle, I love the wartime tunnels there. A couple of years back, I finally achieved an ambition to actually visit the deepest level of the wartime tunnels there, that are only open to the public through tickets. So you've got Annex, Casemate and Dumpy is the level I always wanted to visit and finally got to do about 2 years ago. But this answer isn't about Dover Castle, it's about Kent in general. I live in West Kent. Some might call it a lovely town. I mean, yeah, it is a nice town. It's an old town, Tunbridge. It has a castle. It's older than Royal Tunbridge Wells. The site of Royal Tunbridge Wells isn't as old as Tunbridge. Dates back to before the Domesday Book, the location. So we have what's considered to be one of the finest Motte and Bailey castles in Britain. Constructed by the Fitzgilbert family and the De Clares in the medieval period. During the reign of, I think it was Henry III, might have been Edward III, Tunbridge actually held the Great Seal of England, which was the royal seal of the day. So it was quite an important town. It was quite an important market town. The Fitzgilberts and the De Clares were quite important people in the nobility during the 12th, 13th and 14th centuries. Kent, though, is a lovely county. I do actually prefer East Kent to West Kent because I find East Kent more rugged, and I like rugged. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I don't mean rugged in a bad way. West Kent feels... I think it's also because I see West Kent almost every day. You know, it just doesn't have that... How shall I... Je ne sais quoi. Je ne sais quoi. I believe that's the... I'm sure I'll be corrected by... Because I don't... there's a question coming up involving languages, so, you know. You know, there are some areas that are, you know, not for me, pas pour moi sort of thing, you know. Yeah, but no, Kent's a lovely county. I'm happy to be a resident of Kent. You know, I was born in Kent, raised in Kent, lived in Kent. I mean, holiday wise, other counties I've been to that would be comparable in levels of the love I have for my home county would be Norfolk, Yorkshire, Shropshire, Derbyshire, Nottinghamshire, Devon, Cornwall, and for those of you who live in Wales, I apologise because I can't remember the names of the counties. But the area of Wales known as Snowdonia is a very favourite holiday location of mine. Oh yes, and Cumbria, the Lake District, beautiful part of the world. Love. I mean Yorkshire. Just going off the Kent question very briefly. I finally last year visited Whitby. Fantastic town. I'll talk about that more later because obviously in relation to what I said about there being questions about books and things like that. So yeah, I'll cover that a bit more later. But yeah, as regards to Kent, absolutely love it. Wouldn't really want to live anywhere else. I mean, it's nice to visit, but as the saying goes, there's nowhere quite like home, really. When your soul is in a certain place, it stays there. You can take the man out of Kent, but you can't take Kent out of the man. It's yeah. Well, I hope that answers your question, Yoloma, and I think we'll move on to the next one. So, the next question comes from a very fine gentleman who I have become friends with on Twitter and YouTube. He does have a channel, but there's no content on there. But he is a huge and respected supporter of the ASMR community. So, Ronan, or Ronin, I can never work out how to pronounce your name. I apologise. I know we've sort of been speaking in Premiere feeds and on Twitter a lot, but I've never quite worked out how to pronounce your name, so I apologise. But my good sir, you have been very kind enough to send me in a question. For that, I salute you. And in fact, it also feeds into a similar question from Eri ASMR. So, Ronin asks, if time and money were of no issue, and you could travel to any point in time, where would you go, what would you do, and who would you spend it with? And Eri ASMR asks, if you could travel to any time period, what would it be and why? So, first of all, let's start with the where and when. So, I have various favourite periods of history, and not just British history, but global history. Ancient Egypt, Rome, the Roman Empire, and feudal era Japan are the three time periods I would travel to. Ancient Egypt, because I love the history, I would love to visit the pyramids. For example, I would love to visit the temple, Karnak, the Valley of the Kings, things like that. Rome, yeah, same again. Love the ancient architecture, love the history. Um, Fascinated by Roman soldiers, Roman military practices, things like that. And of course, feudal Japan, because I'm fascinated by Japanese culture, and things like that. So those are the three major time periods I would love to visit, and Victorian. As a steampunk, I would love to try Victoriana. The Victorian aesthetic. Um, so that's the where and when. Going further into Ronan's question, what would you do? That's a very interesting question, because that implies that I would, to me, look at altering history. And history is fixed, you know. This is going into the Whovian side of things now, you know. History has fixed points, and I don't think I'd be able to do a lot. I mean, there's people I'd talk to. I would talk to people, but I don't think I could alter or influence events or people, you know. I mean, imagine the paradoxes that would occur. Don't think I'd want to create any paradoxes. So, however, who would I spend it with? Well, there are two people, if I could travel in time, I would spend it with, and they are actually above me on this shelf. So bear with me, and I will get. Oh! He says knocking the camera. Stay, good camera. Stay. Bear with me. Now, I actually bought these. Pardon, my chair is a bit squeaky. Right, before I was so rudely interrupted. No, it's okay. My mum didn't know I was filming. So you might hear her in the background shouting up. Just had a couple of general letters, really. Nothing important. Anyway, so who would I spend my time with as a time traveller? Well, basically, these two chaps. I bought them at the Science Museum. Nikola Tesla and, of course, Albert Einstein. Two of my biggest scientific inspirations. So yeah, that's who I spend time with, you know, just chatting science, technology, things like that. Yeah. I mean, to actually have plushies of them is quite something, really. They're quite fun, actually. And as I say, they're two of my favourite scientific minds. So yeah, that's basically the question about time travel. But I've got a couple of other questions from Eri ASMR, so I will pause the video again and answer those ones. So Eri ASMR asks, what is your day job and what did you study at uni? First of all, again, Eri ASMR is another friend I've made through Twitter and the YouTube ASMR community. Fantastic. As I said before, everyone who asks me a question, if they have a channel, it's linked below. So, go subscribe, view, like their videos. I might keep repeating that throughout. We shall see. Anyway, so Eri ASMR asks, what is your day job? Well, I can now reveal that I'm back in work. I have been for a week. Up till then, I was furloughed from my previous role as a permitting officer for a civil engineering firm. And sadly, due to cutbacks because of COVID, I was made redundant from that role in August. But I'm with another civil engineering firm as of this week in the role of an administrator. I have to travel into London every day and then back out of London. I travel in from West Kent into North Kent to a place called Plumstead. And it's actually very enjoyable. I like commuting. I like train travel. But I think that's because, to quote the character from the YouTube channel Tomska, if it's still there, I like trains. But yeah, so my day job, which I've recently very much just got back into, it is a temporary contract at the moment. So I'd like it to go permanent. I don't want to jinx it too much, so I won't talk about it too much. But yeah, I'm a administrator basically. So deal with a lot of paperwork, spreadsheets, things like that, which I very much enjoy doing. They then go on to ask, what did you study at uni? Shock horror, I never went to university. I did a 1-year National Vocational Qualification, Level 2, NVQ, in Office Administration in 2000 to 2001. But I was basically told by my secondary school I wasn't academic enough for university. Basically, they were putting it in a polite way that they considered me not clever enough for university. However, if I had gone, I would have absolutely adored studying history and archaeology. That's what I would have loved to have studied at uni. But yeah, basically I was told I wasn't clever enough. And yet there's loads of people with autism who've gone to university and done absolute wonders with their life. So still I've made the most of things and just got on with life and all that. And I guess I bear no ill will to the people that I feel might have held me back because of their attitudes towards me. But that's a completely different story for a completely different video, and it might not even make it into a video at all because it's a section of my past I really, really have difficulty opening up about because I hated my secondary school life so much. I was really depressed during my teenage years. So I might do a separate video talking about that. But more than likely I won't, because yeah. But yeah, no, didn't go to university. Did 1 year at college, MVQ level 2 office admin, and yeah, got through it, got by, got on with life. You know, things happen, good, bad, they happen. You know, you just learn to live with it really and make the most of it. So, I think we move on to some more questions. So the next set of questions, can't speak, comes from Trixie Hobbit, another Twitter friend and fellow ASMR YouTuber, who collaborated with me on the August videos. I created one, she created one, and we basically read ghost stories in August. I am looking to do it again next year, so if you're interested, keep an eye out for that. I will be planning it a lot more in advance, so the more people I can get on board and make it a proper group collaboration, that would be amazing. Anyway, Trixie has several questions which I will go through. First off, what is your favourite tongue twister? Red lorry, yellow lorry, 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 red lorry. There we go. Or she sells seashells on the seashore. She sells seashells for she. There we go. Two of my favourite tongue twisters for you, but you know, I won't do the one about pheasant plucking because that could become rather unpleasant. So yeah, we won't go down that route. I am a gentleman first and foremost, so we'll keep this as family friendly as possible, which is what I keep my YouTube videos are not aimed at kids at all, but I do try and keep my videos as family friendly as possible because I'd love everyone to experience them, the whole family. I'd love to be able to sit down, and I don't swear, I don't use graphic descriptions, and I try to avoid violence in my storylines. You know, at best, think of them as, if in the cinema, 12A, 12A, PG, that sort of thing. You know, something the whole family can enjoy. So yeah, red lorry, yellow lorry, and she sells seashells. I can't even start it. That one just begins with a twist of the tongue. So, what's your favourite kind of poutine? I'm going to be brutally honest here. I do not know what a poutine is. I'm going to have to research that and get back to you on that one, because a poutine is something I've never even heard of. Poutine, unless you mean routine. I don't know. Yeah, I'm gonna have to research that, and I'll give you a response elsewhere. That's a very interesting question. Okay, so Trixie then asks, how far away have you travelled? Well, furthest I've ever travelled, I was about 7 or 8 years old, and I went on a family holiday to Lucerne in Switzerland with my grandparents, um, my aunts and uncles, and my parents on my dad's side of the family. So it was my dad's brothers and sisters and sister. Yeah, brothers and sister. And we stayed in a hotel in Lucerne. And yeah, Switzerland is the furthest I've ever travelled. Britain, furthest I've ever travelled is Edinburgh. Love Edinburgh. Only been there once, but would love to go back. Um, Next furthest is York, Manchester, Birmingham. That was for a day trip. Never stayed in Birmingham. Derbyshire. Well, you heard all the counties I've stayed in before in the first question, the very first question of this video. So, Trixie then asks, "Do you speak any other languages?" For dramatic emphasis, as you probably heard me talking about in the question for Kent, I used some French phrases. I don't actually speak any languages fluently. I would love to learn Japanese. Absolutely love to learn Japanese. I've taught myself to sing the theme tune to Taiyo Sentai Sun Vulcan. Taiyo ga moshi mo naga atara jikyū wa hachimachi hōhō ni tsuku hana wa kae tohi wa sora o sute hito wa hohoemi nagasute ro taiyo wa hoho hinochi no hoshida Shiawase o mamonu honoda Eagle Shark Panther Eagle Shark Panther Oretachi no tamashi mo moeteriru Follow the sun Catch the sun Taiyo Sentai Savalukan. So yeah, that's the one song I've taught myself. And I apologise to anyone from Japan who's watching this, and I may have got the words wrong. I normally have them up on the screen, and I normally have the music playing in my ear. That was very off the cuff, just to prove I can do it. I always think if I can learn a song, I can probably learn the language. What's my shoe size? 12. Size 12. Pure and simple. Well, depends on what shoes I'm wearing, really. Slippers, size 11. Hiking boots, because I don't wear trainers, size 12. Work shoes, size 12. Sometimes for hiking boots, it's size 13. But 12 is the average size. And the final question from Trixie is, if you and your 7-year-old self could meet, what do they think, or what do you think kid self would find impressive? The fact that I was on television in 2018. I was in episode 3 of series 1 of the Great Model Railway Challenge, which was shown on Channel 5 here in the UK. I was part of Team Tunbridge, a group of members of the Tunbridge Model Railway Club, and we built a layout called Cliff's End. Spoiler alert, we didn't win the episode, but it was a lot of fun, a lot of hard work, longest 3 days of my life. I'd do it again in a heartbeat, but, you know, because of the commitment, I don't think really. But what was quite embarrassing for me was that it turned out I was the sort of focus for the episode. If it ever gets shown elsewhere in the world, do give it a watch. Do give it a watch. It was a lot of fun. Yeah, so I think 7-year-old me would be impressed that, you know, 34-year-old me, because I was 34 at the time I did it. Was I? No, I filmed it in May. So when I filmed it, I was 33, but when it was broadcast, I was 34. So sort of, because I'm a July birth. So yeah, I hadn't turned 34 when I filmed it. Um, but yeah, 7-year-old me, I think, would be very impressed that to know that eventually, whilst in early 30s, they would appear on TV. I don't think I'd believe me. I do not think I would believe me. It was a real boost to my confidence. Um, as I say, it turned out I became the focus of the episode, and I think that was just because I was me. I didn't put on an act. I didn't put on, as I said at the beginning of this video, what you see is what you get. Genuine, and I don't mean that in a I mean, who doesn't have an arrogant streak at times? But I'm just who I am. I'm just who I am. I don't make any pretenses. There's no air and graces about me. I'm just a chap who likes doing what he does. Simple as that. I'm just a chap who does what he does. Why be anything else? Why try and be someone you're not? It makes no sense. So yeah, I genuinely think 7-year-old me would absolutely adore that thought of being on television and being the focus of the episode, even though I never expected to be that. I was I was quite I was pleasantly surprised, but I was also rather embarrassed because I kind of felt mean in a way, but I guess they just liked what they saw and they chose to run with it. I think it was the blooming beach huts that did it. Actually, they were kind of my pet project, and the beach huts were seemed to get a lot of focus. I still have them actually. I'm not going to get them out. I'll do a separate video on that experience. After all these years, I've got still photos and things. So yeah, I hope that answers all your questions, Trixie. I think we're going to move on to the next question. So the next question comes from Error ASMR, and they ask, do you have any glorious pets or special hobbies you're interested in? Pets? None. I have no pets. I had a goldfish called Gordon when I was a child. Our elderly next door neighbour basically looked after him whilst we were away and overfed him. Basically killed him, really, in a way. But, can't be helped, I guess. I mean, when you're a kid, losing even a pet like a goldfish really hurts because you become attached to them. But no, I've never had pets since. Special hobbies, yeah, railway modeller, member of the Tunbridge Model Railway Club. I obviously spoke about that. I've spoken about that quite a bit in this video, as you know. Adult fan of Lego, cosplayer, collector of Funko Pop figurines. Used to play Warhammer 40,000 and Warhammer Fantasy. And I played it long before it became Age of Sigmar. I don't really want anything to do with Age of Sigmar because it means I'd have to start my dwarfs army all over again, and there is no way I'm forking out for new models to replace an army I loved and worked hard upon to build. No, my dwarfs stay as they are. They're safe in the box. The Stone Grinder clan stays. But yeah, special hobbies: Warhammer, figurine collecting, cosplay, railway modelling, YouTubing, that sort of thing. What else am I interested in? Photography. I don't do people. When I say that, I don't do portrait photography or fashion photography. I'm very much into architectural photography and historical photography. So, you know, buildings, art, um, you know, structure, things like that, you know. There's some stories I can relate in. Again, there's some stories I can possibly tell in some other videos. Let's face it, there could be a lot more videos spanning from this to expand on my hobbies and interests. Also interested in painting. Haven't done a lot of painting. Only ever did one canvas. Love Bob Ross. Love Bob Ross. But yeah, so as to hobbies, special hobbies, yeah, loads, in fact. Plenty to work from. And I'm not going to pause the video this time round. I'm just going to jump straight into the next question from Yosemite. Do you enjoy the art of Foley as well? Now, I did have to research this, but the art of Foley is the making of your own sound effects and things like that. And yes, I do. I absolutely love doing that. One of my favourites is to make the sound of a train using a brush. So, you know, hopefully that's picked it up. But yeah, I just basically took the brush and brushed it on the stand that this camera is standing on. That's just one of the examples of sound effects I do. I haven't actually used the train effect yet for a video, but I have recorded it. Obviously, once I get my proper microphone and my proper camera and a green screen, I can really start seriously looking at doing full-on character videos. I'm looking at doing a Doctor Who series using my steampunk cosplay. The Timeless Child has actually opened. The Timeless Child episode of Doctor Who has actually opened so many doors for a cosplayer like me and an ASM artist like me to create whole new ideas. So that's something in the pipeline relating to the art of Foley and videos in general. So okay, so in this segment we now have a question from Spirit of Sapphire ASMR. If you were a mythical creature, what would you be and why? Dragon. Simple enough. Dragon. Love them. Absolutely love dragons. their appearance, their majesticness, their ability to breathe fire, their ferociousness, their power. I love dragons. Um, it, this is something I've been looking at doing a video on for many years, because what annoys me is when they're called dragons. This leads into Skyrim, Elder Scrolls Skyrim. They're not dragons in Skyrim. They're wyvern. I mean, I love wyvern as well, but if they walk on their wings, a true dragon has wings on its back, 4 legs and wings on its back. If they have 2 legs and they use their wings to walk, they're wyvern. So technically, they are not actual dragons. I imagine they didn't go with wyvern because it doesn't sound as dramatic as dragons. But you know, a dragon or a wyvern would be my mythical creature of choice because they are very much related anyway. So yeah, that's my answer to your question, Spirit of Sapphire ASMR. So we move on to the next group of questions. So these next set of questions come from ASMR Me to You. And the first question is, what is your favourite thing about doing ASMR? Helping people, giving, it's helped me through many years of my life. I mean, I have acute anxiety, and it's been like a safety net, really, something to land myself in when I need to break out of a potential anxiety attack. I tend not to do my style is character based. There is no sort of method to how I do it. But if I can sort of give a a sense of enjoyment, a sense of calm and tranquility to people, then that's what's important to me. Yeah, so what made you start your own YouTube channel? Boredom, I think. Well, obviously, as I mentioned at the very beginning of this video, I have a vlog channel which is dormant. I don't really post anything to that, or haven't posted anything to that in recent weeks or months. I ought to, but that was started out of boredom. I didn't really know what direction I wanted to take it in. And this channel was started because I was inspired by so many people and encouraged to start my own channel. I put out a message on Twitter that said, do people think I should start my own channel? And there was a resounding yes. And the rest, as they say, is history. And I've made so many new friends online because of it. I'm really happy to have made that step. It was a big step, but I made it. What is the best comment you've ever received? All of them. I have, my experience of being a small channel so far is that I've not received a negative comment yet. When I do, I will pin it in celebration, because they say you've never made it, you know you've made it as an ASM artist if you receive a negative comment. You know, so I've never received a thumbs down for my videos either. And again, they say there's an unwritten rule that you know you've made it if you get a thumbs down. So when that happens, I will actually be very, very happy. But everyone who has commented on my videos has been amazing, really supportive, and you know, all of the comments have been really good. You know, excuse me, just gonna have a swig of tea. I think to try and choose one would show favoritism, and I'm not that sort of person. You know, I have channels and ASM artists who I absolutely adore. You know, who I think are really amazing and are really good at what they do. And you know, there are so many I'd love to collaborate with. There are so many who, if I could work on projects with, oh, you know, it would be a dream come true to work with them, because they are some of the finest, most kind-hearted people I've ever come across. And you know, although I've never met them in person, I get that from their videos, from their tweets, from their, you know, yeah. So, um, best comment I've ever received, all of them. Final question from ASMR me to you. What advice would you give a new YouTube creator? Most importantly, have fun. You know, don't go in with a plan. I didn't. And see how it goes. You know, try different things. Don't just do the same thing all the time. I mean, I didn't think I'd end up doing two different story-based ASMR series, but it's panned out that way. Search for your format. Look for what you think about, what you really want to do. Try all the triggers. Try all the you know, if you want to do typing videos, do typing videos. If you want to do videos using brushes, do it. You know, if you want to do hand movements, do hand movements. You know, the world's your oyster. There are no hard and fast rules to this game, as it were. You know, I mean, obviously there are rules that you have to abide by, but at the end of the day, what you do is up to you. And my advice is have fun with it. You know, try different things. Don't be afraid. You know, if there's something you really want to try that might have never been done before, do it. You know, do it. Simple as that. You don't know until you do. So that's all the questions from ASMR me to you. We shall move on to the next batch. So next up, I have received questions from Kata or Kater ASMR. I apologise if I do pronounce your name wrong. But again, there's a link to Kater's channel below. As with the previous questions, of course. First question: if you could pick a new first name, what would it be? Well, for those who know me, and for those of the people that are collaborating with me on my sci-fi series, Daedalus is a name I would go with. If I had to change my name for any reason, not that I would, not that I ever would, it would be to my lead character, Daedalus van Liechtenstein. Because he's a character that I've been developing since the mid 1990s. I started creating him when I was about 12 years old, and he's been with me ever since. And sort of started out in creative writing and has evolved into a much broader and developed character than ever before. You know, he almost seems real now. You know, he's not a character I really talk about publicly, because obviously he's you know, something I've been working on for a very long time. So he's a special character to me, basically. And I'm finally glad I can now finally glad I've been able to bring him to life, really, in my projects. It's been, after all these years, it's been lovely that I can actually give him a voice and a storyline. I wrote a script many years ago, but it was absolute rubbish. Absolute rubbish. But when you're a teenager, you think it's the best thing in the world. I've still got copies of that script, and it is terrible. But yeah, Daedalus would be the new first name I'd go with. Next, we have a real toughie of a question. What's your favourite kind of sandwich? Oh, why do you have to roll with the hard ones? Oh my gosh. Oof. Cheese and pickle. I actually had to think about this for a long time. It was either a flip of the coin between cheese and pickle, cheese and ham, and there was a third, ham and pickle. In fact, no, scratch cheese and pickle. It's just dawned on me what my favourite sandwich is. Ham, cheese, and red onion chutney. Oh my god. Oh, that is a divine combination of flavours. Yeah. Ham, cheese, and red onion chutney. We'll leave that question there. Final question from Kata. Would you rather have a third eye or a third arm? I'm going to say a third eye. And because the third eye is considered to be a psychic element. Now, I'm not psychic, but I am an empath. I feel the changes. I can walk into a room and I can feel the atmosphere. I can feel the energy, things like that. And I think having a third eye in that sense would help to focus more. You know, I think that would be a very interesting concept and experience to have. So yeah, a third eye over a third arm, because let's face it, although a third arm would be useful to carry extra things, at the end of the day, 9 times out of 10 you only need 2 arms anyway. I think it would be more of a burden than a boon, shall we say. So I think on that note, we shall move on to the next set of questions. So the next set of questions comes from ASMR Smiles Positive Vibes, who is collaborating with me on two projects, the Destructor Saga and the Lord of War and Heartache, and I'm absolutely delighted to have her on board. She's a fantastic ASMR artist. There is a link in the description below again. Her first question is, what is your favourite ASMR video from another ASMR artist? I have so many, and to try and choose one would be, in my mind, favouritism. But this question really put me on the spot because I follow over 1,000 ASMR artists on YouTube. I'm subscribed to over 1,000. And I really had to think hard and fast for this one. I'm going to have to say there are many episodes of the Whisperwind series from Whisperwind ASMR. I mean, Sage is a fantastic ASMR artist. She's a fantastic character actress. Her character appearances are absolutely divine to look at. You know, she really puts a lot of hard work into her videos, and you know, I'm honoured to have her portraying the Empress in the Destructor Saga. You know, it's a real treat to have her on board. It really makes me happy, because I just think she's so good at what she does. I mean, there are so many. I mean, you know, ASMR Shani, Crinkle Lovin', Oopsie Daisy, Jodie Marie, Amy Kay, Blue Whisper, you know, GB, all of them. Absolutely amazing ASMR artists. And, you know, as I say, I follow over 1,000. I'm subscribed to over 1,000, so it's really, really, really difficult to actually pick out an individual favourite. So I hope that answers that question. And obviously, that one was tough. That one was tough. Thank you anyway. Do you record in the mornings or at night? I record whenever I can. Obviously, I work during the day now, 5 days a week. So I try not to record in the week. I try and record at the weekends if I can. I have a couple of signs that I put up on my door because obviously I don't have a soundproof recording room. Having loads of bookcases behind me and like a bookcase in front of me kind of helps muffle the sound a bit, but you know, it's not. I still live at home. If I had my own space, I would probably record a lot more. The only reason I still live at home is because I can't afford to move out. House prices here in Britain are ridiculous, and for a single male adult, you know, living on his own can be expensive. So obviously living at home, I have to record when I can, and that's usually the weekend. So yeah. Next question. Pardon me, I'm just adjusting myself in the chair. Do you have any videos you have done but not released yet? No. Not at the moment, no. They're all work in progress. Um, they they are pretty much released as I make them. So I basically record them and then post them almost immediately. Um, so obviously with the collaborations, I'm waiting for the contributions from those who I'm collaborating with, but I don't work to a deadline because I feel that puts pressure on the people involved, and I think when you have a deadline, it makes it feel too much like work. I want people to enjoy the projects they do with me. I think it just makes it a lot more fun. And I think having a deadline uh, makes it more stressful. I want people to enjoy themselves when they work with me. I don't want them to feel like it's a chore. You know, it's not. Yeah. Who would you like to do a collaboration with? See the list below. There's an entire list of people who I'd love to collaborate with. It'll all be in the description. Uh, Obviously, I'm very honoured to have you on board. Um, ASMR Smiles Positive Vibes. Um, you know, you were on my list of people I'd love I'd love to collaborate with, and I'm absolutely delighted to have you on board. Um, as with everyone else, I've listed all the channels below that I'm currently collaborating with, plus all the channels I'd love to collaborate with. So hopefully, if you see this list, um, and you're actually one of those channels that I've listed, DM me on Twitter, message me through YouTube. I'm approachable. I have ideas. I'm happy to collaborate with you on your own work. I'm a voice artist though, so I can't do videos, but I can do voiceovers. You know, DM me. I'd love to. I'd love to work with you all. It would be a massive dream come true to work with everyone that's listed because you're all amazing. Final question from ASMR Smiles Positive Vibes. Fast or slow ASMR? Both, actually. Um, I quite enjoy both. Depends on the triggers, of course. Hand movements, fast and slow. Talking, fast or slow. But I'll cover that because there's another question coming up. So I will cover that in the upcoming question. So let's move on. So these questions come from Sleeping Artist ASMR. The first one is, do you experience ASMR? Yes, I do. I've been viewing videos for it since the very beginning, since it first ever started, way back in 2009. My first experience with it was the joy of painting with Bob Ross, as I think it was for so many people. But yes, I do experience it, and to understand it has really helped, and it really helps my anxiety. It really does bring a sense of peace, tranquility, and relaxation, really. So, I'm sorry that answer's short, but basically, yes, I do. What's your favourite ASMR trigger? Soft speech, hand movements, you know, anything like that. Certain mouth sound, you know, when I say certain mouth sounds, I mean, you know, inaudible whispers, things like that. Yeah, personal attention, I guess, as well. You know, caregiving, that sort of thing. So that's, yeah, I think that covers triggers, as it were. But any sort of movement, anything like that, any. I'm also very taken by sort of, I suppose you could say, jingling sounds, I guess. I don't know, you know, like wind chimes, things like that. Anything that sort of clinks or I know that's not a very regular trigger, but anything like that, you know, anything that sort of stimulates the eardrum, shall we say, in a unexpected manner. What's your least favourite trigger? Up close mouth sounds. You know, like I I've never really watched ear licking videos, but that is not for me. Passe pour moi. Passe pour moi. Not for me because um, I have quite sensitive eardrums, and the sound, I don't know, it just doesn't work for me. You know, I respect the people that create those videos, and you know, fair play to them. You know, they put a lot of hard work in. It's just not my personal thing, really. You know, but everyone's different. If we all liked the same triggers, think how boring this community would be. I think you've got to have variety. You have absolutely got to have variety. I don't think you can have, you know, everyone doing the same thing. It would be boring. It would be dull. So, you know, one person's ear licking video, for example, um, isn't necessarily someone else's. Um, and the other one I would say, I wouldn't say it's a least favourite trigger, but the other one I've never really understood are mukbang videos. Never understood mukbang. Again, it's not really my thing, but you know, people seem to enjoy it. So who am I to judge? I've said it on Twitter. I make no judgments. You know, I just, if it's not for me, it's not for me. You know, these videos aren't made for my personal enjoyment or viewing. You know, they're made for everyone else as well. So I hope that answers your question. Now, I'm just going to check how many more we've got. 8 more questions to come, so I might group them all together into the next segment of the video. because they're all sort of singular questions, and we will I will answer them all together as one list of questions. So we'll pause there and jump into the next segment. So the next question comes from Mike Talks ASMR. Do you thank God for Jim Sterling? Now, Jim Sterling is a video game journalist on The Escapist, and I wouldn't say I thank God, because I'll be honest, I'm not religious, but I won't go into that. Spiritual, but not religious. Do I thank God for Jim Sterling? Yes. But I would thank him even more for Ben Yahtzee Croshaw. Jim Sterling is great, but Yahtzee is probably my favourite of all the escapist journalists. I mean, Zero Punctuation, yeah, is probably my favourite thing from The Escapist. So yeah, Ben Yahtzee Croshaw is really who I like out of The Escapist, but I do think that Jim Sterling is a pretty good journalist, and he is very good at what he does. So, you know. Next question comes from Ray of ASMR. Do you like more of today's type of media or some old movie stuff? I do like a lot of the old movies. I'm particularly keen on films starring the late great Vincent Price, the Dr. Phibes films, Theatre of Blood. Obviously, I grew up with Star Wars, huge Star Wars fan, so I grew up with the original trilogy before they were re-released in the 1997 versions. So yeah, obviously I saw all three of the prequel trilogy at the cinema. I guess in a way though, I have to be in the right kind of mood to watch a film. It you know, and it has to be a specific film that I really, really want to see. If it's one that has no interest to me, as I say, I have to really be in the right kind of mood to watch a film. So, but yeah, Vincent Price films, Hammer horror, things like that. I like the old. I like the old style horror films, shall we say, and the old school sci-fi. Don't really go in for dramas and things like that. Although I also like films by Kubrick. What's his name? I've forgotten his name, but he directed Psycho and Alfred Hitchcock. That's it. Films by Hitchcock and things like that. So I like a lot of the old films. I do like modern films though. I mean, I'm very into my comic book films, so I love all the Marvel movies. I very much enjoyed the first Suicide Squad film. I liked the Batman trilogy. Batman Begins, Dark Knight Rises, and Dark Knight. think I've got the middle one right. But you know, with Heath Ledger as the Joker. I'm very interested to see what happens with the Batman with Robert Pattinson in the role. That will be interesting. I withhold judgment on that. I actually did enjoy Justice League, but it could have been done a lot better. But I'll leave that for another video one day. So next questions are sort of very similar. So they come from ASMR Cassie and ASMR Whisper UK. So ASMR Cassie asks, what made you start doing ASMR? And ASMR Whisper UK asks, who inspired you to start ASMR and why? So I think I've already answered why I started it. It was to sort of help give back to the community what they've given to me to help with anxiety and things. As I say, I do my videos in a very specific way. Mine are all character driven. I don't tend to do, you know, mine are all about storytelling. Mine are all about, you know, sound effects, things like that. But I really wanted to give something back to the community that's helped me so much, and I just want to help other people really experience the same thing as me. So you know, yeah, that's why I started doing it, and it's what made me start doing it. And as to who inspired me, a huge amount of people. In fact, most of my biggest inspirations have always been people like Gentle Whispering, GB. You know, I remember when there was Whisper Crystal, Whispering in Blue, The Water Whispers Ilsa. Who else? Who else? Who were some of the people that Heather Feather, you know, some of the ASM artists I started watching when I started have disappeared a lot. Whisper Crystal hasn't made a video in 8 years. 8 years. So you know, it's a mystery where she disappeared to, but I do hope she's well. Alternate Aurora, whom I have been viewing for a very long time. One of my favourite ASM artists. The SCP videos were probably some of the first of her videos that I'd ever watched. Fascinated by the SCP Foundation. Asks, what was your first experience with ASMR? Well, I think it, as I've said before, a lot of people, it was with Bob Ross and The Joy of Painting. His shows were being shown on British TV before the whole ASMR thing even became a thing on YouTube. I mean, we're talking about the early 2000s, sort of 2002, sort of. And I just didn't know, I just felt really relaxed watching his videos. And it just felt right, it felt good. So it's that was my first experience, I think, and I think that's the same for a lot of people. Next up, we have a question from Jespertin. Who's your celebrity crush? This question was asked by Twitter, as was all the questions. Who's my celebrity crush? My gosh, they know how to ask them, don't they? I've been thinking about this since I first saw the question on Twitter. Is it going to sound really obvious if I say Scarlett Johansson as Black Widow? To be honest with you, yeah, I'm going to have to say it. Scarlett Johansson, aka Black Widow in the Marvel films. You know, I mean, you can't get a more extreme yet rounded character than Black Widow, in my opinion. I mean, I actually wrote a list down of people, you know, and there was people like Natalie Portman, Scarlett Johansson, Keira Knightley, Karen Gillan, you know. I guess I've got crushes on all of them, really, you know, celebrity crushes. Yeah, so I hope that answers your question. And the final two questions actually come, I'll save the best till last because these come from my best mate Stu. And you know, we've known each other for many years. We're both members of the Tunbridge Model Railway Club. We both have very similar tastes and interests. Maybe not so much in music. I'm more of a metalhead, although I do like some of the music he listens to. And his first question is, what's your favourite hip hop song of all time? And that is a easy answer. It's I'm gonna have to look up the title. Bear with me, because I can never actually remember what it's called. But it's by Public Enemy. It's by Public Enemy, and I can never remember the title. If you're British and you watch The Last Leg, you will know it because the song is used as the theme tune to the Channel 4 chat show series The Last Leg. Bear with, because I'm just going through. This is awful because you'd think this one I would have written down because I can never remember the title. Talk amongst yourselves, ladies and gentlemen. I beg your pardon for this. I know it's by Public Enemy. That's it. Harder Than You Think. Yeah, I love that track. It's really really good. It's old. It's what I refer to as old school hip hop. But yeah, if you get a chance, give it a listen. It's brilliant. But really, when it comes to things hip hop related, I'm actually a chap hop enthusiast. Professor Elemental and Mr. B, the Gentleman Rhymer. You know, Professor Elemental and Fighting Trousers. Ah, Jeffrey, what's that you have in your hand, boy? Pass it over. A telegram? Oh dear, it seems someone has been biting me. Fetch me my trousers at once. No, not those. Those are my tea trousers. Those are my time travel trousers. That's it. Those ones. My fighting trousers. Or, I need a cup of the brown stuff, the shade of an acorn, made warm by the same source that I take my cakes from. Using a teapot, a mug of fine china, been hooked up to ivy, constant supply and a drip on my urges, like Burge on perverted. Prefer the brown tea, I'm certain it's worth it. I'll have to do that as a full video, actually. Or, Mr. B, actually, it was a cover that Mr. B did of Harder Than You Think, called Just Like a Chap, that, no coward of rapper, not blithering. The world of chap is what I'm living in. Spelled backwards means nothing at all. Stop fiddle-faddling and come to the ball. Check the facts and expose those prats. They're tiresome chap brats. They're not chaps. The government is posh, but they're not dandy. I've a cause and I've a pipe, and I shall keep it handy. With great grooming comes great responsibility. To get in your clothing like a jeweller does filigree. Tweed and silk over a nook by Mr. B. Let's get a million views of chap hop history. Again, I might do a full voice only performance of that. So yeah, I guess Hip Hop Wise Harder Than You Think by Public Enemy, but Chap Hop Wise, Professor Elemental and Mr. B the Gentleman Rhymer. And this is the very last question, and again it comes from my best mate Stu. If you could buy one locomotive from each of the big four, what would they be? Well, for those who don't know, the history of railways in Britain has been a very interesting one. We had what was known as pre-grouping from the 1820s up to 1923, and the Grouping Act came in 1921, but they weren't actually grouped into four individual companies until about 1924. So you had Southern Railway (SR), Great Western Railway (GWR), London North Eastern Railway (LNER), and London Midland Scottish Railway (LMS). And these were known as the Big Four, and they all had their own locomotive designers. They all had their own, for example, all the locomotives for the Great Western were built in Wolverhampton and Swindon. Southern had Brighton, Eastleigh, and some of them were built up in Glasgow, the North British Engineering Company. Not every locomotive was actually built in their respective companies' regions. So, for the locomotives that I would purchase are, and he will be delighted to hear me say this, a merchant navy. For Southern, a merchant navy. He's probably not even believing his ears to hear me say that. He's probably punching the air right now and doing all sorts of celebratory dances and things like that, because I bet he never thought he'd hear me say I'd purchase a merchant navy locomotive. For Great Western, it would have to be a King. Because they were the major express locomotives of the Great Western. LNER, it would have to be a locomotive in the same family as Flying Scotsman or Mallard, so an A3 or an A4. And for London Midland, it would have to be a Duchess or a Princess Coronation. They were, again, streamlined locomotives. Literally, all the locomotives I mentioned, apart from the King class, were streamlined, which meant they could go faster. They were more economic in their, they were more economic in the use of their coal, things like that. But as I say, I can quite imagine that he's incredibly excited to hear me say that I would purchase a merchant navy locomotive for Southern. And I'm not just saying that because he is a Bullard Pacific enthusiast. I'm saying that because I don't think any other Southern locomotive could even begin to compare in the power and the pulling strength that the merchant navies had. You have to admit, regardless of which company you are an enthusiast for, and as a rule, I am actually a Great Western Railway enthusiast. I don't think any other Southern railway locomotive can really compare to a Bullard Pacific, apart from his Light Pacifics, which were equally as powerful. But yeah, it would be a merchant navy, or a Battle of Britain or a West Country class, which were all three of those were related to each other. It's just that the Battle of Britain and the West Country classes were the lighter versions of the merchant navy, but they all shared very similar aesthetics and designs. So that's it. That's all the questions. I'm sorry that some of them were really short in answers, but hopefully that's given you some insight. All the questions are listed below in the description. There is a list of incredibly honourable mentions. I'm losing the ability to speak. And I've indicated which channels are already participating with me in collaborations and who I'd absolutely love to collaborate with. So if you're watching this and you wonder if your channel is included, have a look. I can't include everyone, obviously, because as I say, I follow over 1,000 channels. But you know, if you want to DM with me and ask and would like to collaborate, drop me a line. I'm always here. You know, it'd be fantastic to work with you. And it leaves me to say, you know, take care of yourselves, look after yourselves, and thank you so very much for watching. Thank you so very much for taking the time out to listen to a man ramble about his loves and his life and things like that. You know, I really appreciate it. You know, please subscribe if you haven't, because I really would love to share my work with you. I don't say it very often in my videos. You know, there is no obligation to subscribe to my channel, but you know, it would be amazing. You know, and please spread the word. You know, I create this stuff for you. I don't do it for me. I do it for you. The fact that this is given, pardon my chair, it's quite noisy. The fact that I do this and bring my characters to life, yes, it's a dream come true, but it's for your benefit. It's for your enjoyment. It's my world. It's my gift to you. It's my gift. So please, you know, let me know what you think. Drop me messages. Drop me comments. Things like that. You know, like my videos if you like them. It just makes me happy to know that you really do like what I do, and that's what's most important to me. You know, doing stuff for other people. Thank you. Thank you for giving me this time and taking the time to watch this. And I will see you next time with some more projects. As I said, you can follow me on Twitter, and there's a link tree thing in my profile. So yeah, thank you very much. Look after yourselves, take care of yourselves, don't do anything I wouldn't do, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching again. Bye for now.